Hello, everyone. Welcome to Art Lounge Alley. This is Figure Drawing Basics, part 68. I am your host, and I will be jumping into today's sesh right after I introduce newcomers to the Patreon page. It's going to be a quick one. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We got 6 tiers altogether. We got tier 1, which is a pretty affordable one. Tier 2, which is all access patron. This is the tier where you guys get access to all of my work. Tier 1, you get access to the Discord server and you have your name listed in the credits. Another one is tier 3, which is the critique submissions tier. It's an opportunity for you guys to submit some work and have it critiqued live on stream. I'm going to show you hands-on using Clip Studio Paint, how you could improve your drawing, what you could do to just improve your techniques in general. Some tips and tricks from yours truly. Next we got Kickstarter Patron. This is tier 4, $25 per month. Gets you a high resolution digital painting done of you live on stream Thursdays from 8 until 10. And the critique sesh is going to be on Fridays from 8 until 10 as well. So it's going to substitute what you guys are seeing today. Next we got tier 5, artist promotion, a tier for those of you who are intermediate or advanced artists who want to promote your work and want to get your work out there through all the different social media platforms, be part of the Art Lounge community. It is open to all sorts of artists. It's not limited to illustrators, so check it out. Take a look at the Patreon page, which you could access at the About section of the Twitch channel. You guys can take time and read through for this one, and there's quite a bit on there. There's some requirements on there, just some tips and ideas. And if you guys got any questions, you could of course ask me, and I'll be absolutely happy to answer them. And then finally we got tier 6, which is private tutoring, limited to 15 people, $65 per month. And that pretty much does it, y'all. There's stuff to read about it, but as I mentioned, you guys are welcome to do it at your own pace and time, and you could always ask me questions on stream or off. So that does it pretty much for the intro for that, and I'm going to start with today's lesson. Now, part of the reason why I wanted to just kind of skip through that is because today is a special intro at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So after this stream, you guys stick around. There will be a new intro. I did want, it's not going to be what I intended to originally, which was going to be an artist that I really like and a book that I have. Still working on that one, but it's going to be another one that's really interesting. It's exciting, that I have been thinking about for a while as well. And I had a streamer yesterday, or a guest, I guess, come into chat, and they reminded me of pixel art, something that I also really enjoy as well. And this intro is going to be about a game that is designed in pixel art form. So you guys are going to see some amazing work. It's going to be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you stick around after to check that out. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to jump into today's lesson. It's going to give an opportunity for more drawing to happen before I live stream it, because honestly, I think it might actually take a good chunk of the live stream. So I'm going to take advantage of this time and focus on drawing. All right, so where did we leave off yesterday? Yesterday, we left off at drawing the chins. I was just doing some demonstrations here, showing you all the different type of chins. Just like all the other features, just like ears, just like the nose, eyes, even mouth. The only thing, and this is something that I spoke about actually from the beginning of the stream, the only thing that is consistent through all of us, regardless of our shape, size, the difference in our features like our nose, ears, mouth, and ears, all those, there's one thing that remains unchanged and exactly the same in pretty much all of us, and that is the shape of our iris and pupil. It never changes, no matter what person you are, no matter what quote-unquote religion, race, and whatever, we all share that commonality. And we could be bigger, smaller, thinner, thicker, whatever it is. Our features could be all very different, but one thing that we all continue to have in common, that we all see in one another, is the pupil and iris. The perfect shape of it. It never changes. So that's just an interesting thing. We're talking about all this diversity, right? We're talking about all these different features and how they vary from person to person, but there is one thing that is absolutely unchangeable, or it hasn't changed at all. I find that to be an interesting observation. And perhaps it is the reason why we have this connection between all of us, and in fact, connection with animals as well. It's just that we see this commonality, perhaps, that brings us together, that brings us closer, and thwarts any hostility. Well, for the most part, I want to say, or for those of us who are civil. So yeah, just an interesting observation. But yeah, going back to these drawings is just showing different types of chins that come around. You got one that's more of like on a square side, obviously one that's a little bit more pointy and has more delicate features, more rounded features. You could see that the jawline doesn't have any of these corners or anything, and it has it suggests more of like a feminine sort of physiology. And then we got one that's protruding out. We got the nose is there just to show you how kind of has that feature going on. They both protrude out. It's very characteristical. Then we got one that's the opposite of it, where the chin isn't as prominent as, let's say, the nose. It doesn't jut out as much as the nose does. And then we got something in between that, where the chin is kind of protruding, but not as much as this one. And there's a little feature there, indent in the chin, with a slightly prominent nose. But yeah, just variations there, just to demonstrate how interesting that is. And I'm gonna do one more here that's actually in between this one, where the nose isn't as prominent, and neither is the chin. And I think that that's what makes portraiture so fun, or drawing from real life, or always having a sketchbook on you. Especially if you're living in an area where there are a lot of people walking around. Get yourself one of these chairs. Yeah, I've recently purchased it. It's actually like one of the best purchases I've made, I want to say. It's $100, but well worth it. It's a bottle size chair. So it comes in the shape of a bottle. Like basically it's the size of like a water bottle that you would have, right? It's like a 64 ounce, maybe a little bit more. But it unfolds, and it actually is a very comfortable. It's one of the most comfortable portable chairs that I've sat in. So check that out. It's on Amazon as well. And if you have that with you, you could carry it around, a little sketchbook with you, and you could go and sit in parks or sit in areas, where there's like grass or whatever, and just like observe the people around. If there are other chairs around, or if there are other places where people are sitting, go to a place where there's like a cafe or something, or there's like a combination of a cafe and park, or something that's close to one. And go and draw. Or like, let's say if the only thing you got nearby is like a mall or something, you can go to a mall, you could sit, you could bring a little sketchbook with you and just kind of observe the different type of people and their features, and try to draw those, or like try to capture their likeness in some way. It doesn't have to be like the most realistic rendition. It doesn't have to be incredibly detailed, but just paying attention. Like for instance here, right? I'm just drawing the profile view trying to capture this idea of how you see that the nose is somewhat prominent. It's fairly small, and how the chin is kind of, inwards in comparison. So just this feature, that's all I'm capturing there. So it's your sketchbook is your like learning pad. It's also your reference pad too. Like you could sit and draw little parts of, like, let's say a store, the front of the store, and document that. And that way, when you sit down and draw something, let's say you decide to do something from your imagination, and you want to also include backgrounds, in that drawing. Well, there you have it. You got your sketchbook there. You could reference what you drew in that sketchbook, and you could be like, oh yeah, it looks like this. There's an awning. This is what the awning looks like. And from that drawing, from life, you've already got yourself some reference. It's even better. It's even better than what you would find online, because everybody's using that same reference, right? If somebody was like, storefront awning, and then they'll see like the first few things that pop up, it's going to be from that. Whereas you're doing it directly from your own experience, which adds to the originality of your work. Sometimes you could see the skeletal work of something, and you could be like, oh yeah, I actually recognize that. That's this image stock that I've come across, or whatever. But even more so, it's time well spent. You're out and about, you're making observations, you're improving your skill by being able to memorize features, for instance, right? Like you pass somebody, or somebody passes, and you like take a look at them, and you quickly notice that that's their profile is like that. So you could try to draw that profile, and then you could look at someone else that's passing by and try to notice what their profile looks like in comparison to the one that you just drew, and just document all this stuff. And again, you're practicing, you're drawing, you're in that mode of documenting things visually. It's a fun time. It's a really, if you already enjoy drawing, it's just another great way of going about being outside of the house, for one. Going out and enjoying the outside world. And who knows, you might strike a conversation with somebody, or you might get to know someone who's interesting. It's a 50-50 chance, I'll say that. From my experiences, I've had 50-50, where it would be interesting people, or sometimes just weird, creepy people. But still, it's an interesting experience. And primarily you are drawing with the intent of continuing to draw. All right, so that's another one. I'm gonna see if I should skip this song. It's gonna be, yeah. It's a hit and miss with Pretzel. Let's see, what's another one? This is a really cool one, actually. This is a really characteristic kind of drawing, and it's fun. Now, pay attention in this one, how many lines are involved in its rendering. How many different lines that take form. And how those lines end up creating like characteristical traits. I want to say this music would belong in like King of Hearts or something. Never played the game. It looked interesting, but to be honest, I'm just kind of disappointed with Disney. Their values and are a sham. Like the old Disney movies, I guess I still enjoy. But with the amount of corruption that they've been backing and, you know, instances of, I don't know, I'm not going to get into it. I do want to do more research in recent days to see what's going on with them, but they're just turning into like another major corporation. And kind of like, I feel like they're just losing sight of what it originally intended to be. I'm on the fence about him. Let's just say that. But like old movies, like especially like Sleeping Beauty, I really thought was very creative. And the animation was beautiful, and I really enjoyed that work, and it was like traditional style work that really appealed to me and still appeals to me. Say you could see like this is a really exaggerated kind of feature, but it's still cool. It's like it's similar to this one, but the shapes are slightly different, very prominent features, and obviously suggesting somebody who's older. With all these little lines here that I've included just to suggest like wrinkles and age. Now this one is going to be more challenging because it has a lot of minute little details, and it's drawn in like I want to say pixelated form. You know, it's kind of like pointillism, where just a bunch of little dots combined together end up creating this feature, or the features rather. So challenge accepted, but I think that originally it was done with ink. it's kind of similar to this face, but in a different angle. And as I'm doing this, I am focusing on, once again, something that I talk about very frequently, the relationship between objects. So I'm going to just call them objects until it's an entire face. And just as like an encompassing way of looking at it, like, you know, you're looking at this object and this one, let's just say, and you're just studying the relationship between them. Like, how far is the nose from the mouth? You know, looking at the reference, for instance, and looking at your drawing. Like, how far am I drawing it from the nose, for instance, the lips? How far are they? They're supposed to be somewhat close, so paying attention to that as a way of helping to construct and make sure that everything is in place. Because if I draw the mouth too low, it's going to take away from, not only from the anatomical correctness, but also their features as well. Lo-Fi said, my man's drawing some Gucci faces. Yeah, it's just interesting to study all different features and see the likeness between them and different angles. And it's great line variation practice. Like, there's so many different little details and lines here that make up the entire face. Lo-Fi says, holy shit, you exist. Indeed I do. And then he says, from the actual nice stream quality, I thought it was just one of those loop streams. What is exactly that? What is that? What's a loop stream? Is it like people who are playing videos and just playing their videos on loop? Is that what that means? I don't watch too many other streams. Yeah, I barely have time to watch like new series or play even like new games or anything, so kind of out of the loop of what's going on. Lo-Fi says, just like pretending to be there and then just putting a video on loop. All right, yeah, I figured that's what it might be. No, I don't really want to do that. And there's stuff that I want to talk about too. I want to like discuss and stuff, and especially if you guys got questions too while I'm doing all this, you know, that wouldn't work out well. Lo-Fi says, your art is amazing, by the way. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Hope it inspires you as well. Not necessarily just for illustration, but, you know, whatever art field you're interested in, I hope it inspires you to create as well. You know, for me personally, like listening to a really good band or music, or, you know, reading a book, or reading even like philosophy books or certain parts of philosophy inspire me to create. Like, you know, if it gets the mind going and I start coming up with ideas, or just seeing somebody else create some interesting content, or show a lot of enthusiasm in what they're doing, is enough to like push me to want to do something with what I'm interested in. So it's kind of like what the goal is here, and that's why I encourage like all sorts of artists to be on stream, or, you know, to share their work, to talk about art that they're into. to inspire everybody that's on there, including me, including other viewers. And that's kind of like what the point of the community is, in a way. Like, you know, when you guys are here and you're interacting, it's just it is for that reason. Like, I want to encourage you guys to like share more stuff of your own that you're interested in as well. Flow 5 says, I like drawing faces. Yeah, me too. You know, that's one of my that's one of the things that really got me into drawing. It's like I didn't practice bodies as much until I got older, but what really captivated me was like interesting faces or interesting face expressions that would immediately want to push me to sit down and try to capture them, or try to have them, in a sense, right? So if like I look at somebody and I'm like, oh, that's a really beautiful face, or it's a really interesting face feature, I want to keep looking at it. And one of the ways is, for me, was to capture it on paper and to be able to draw it. Or if like when I was younger, I used to like go to the libraries, and I used to like borrow books from the libraries and sit down and draw whatever was there, because I was like, oh, I got to return this, so I can't keep these images, but this is the way for me to do it. Flow 5 says, I'm weird though, so I draw furries. I mean, you're drawing, you know, and it's something that you're interested in, and it's creative. It's practicing creativity. So whatever keeps your creativity going, you know. I mean, of course, I feel like there is some limit, you know, when it starts crossing over into like, I don't know, like child stuff or something. Like, I feel like that's when it starts to get weird, and it's like, well, I don't know if this is really helping you in any way, or, you know, or like drawing content that really doesn't have any I feel like, or it gets really, really dark, in a sense. Like, I mean, I guess in some ways, right, it's like a fine line, I feel like, because there's some stuff that you could draw that is in a dark atmosphere, but it's meant to shine the light on the fact that exists, right? Or you know, that it has a certain point or a certain thing that doesn't lead towards insanity, but leads towards like an understanding. So like you see some stuff like it's really dark. Like there's a painting done by Goya, and it's like depicting a father eating his own son, like, and it's this like monstrous size. So you know, it's just these things that kind of depict certain things that happen. Like there are certain things that happen in history that were really dark and crazy, you know, so the artist kind of like puts that out there, and it's a way of like documenting something. It's a way of saying like, hey, this is something that does happen, and you know, be aware of it, you know. So it's like a fine line, you know. There is a fine line, I feel like, when it comes to strange topics, because it could be either really weird and something that like someone is fantasizing about or whatever, or it could be like a form of information, you know. So I feel like there is a certain strange line to cross over, but yeah, it's hard to define it. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, you know. Like some people would look at Rob Zombie movies and they'll be like, that's really dark and twisted, and you know, but it's exaggerated and stylized, so it kind of passes that strange zone. Flow 5 says, yeah, don't draw that. Great, man. I'm happy to hear it. And he says, I like just drawing some funky furry faces, although I'm bad at it. I'll just stick to it, man. Just draw, you know. That's all it is. You just have to practice as often as possible. And from what I gather, they're anthropomorphized, right? So they're like half human, half animals. So like, you know, that's you're still benefiting from drawing from real life. You're still benefiting from drawing like animals, you know, and adding that to your library in a sense, right? So if you ever do venture out of that, or if you ever have interest in some other things, you've learned how to draw the human figure, right? Because it's a combination, and you also, you know, you're drawing humans and animals combined. So it's you know, you're improving your visual library in a way. It says, I like animals with human features. I mean, if you want to post it in chat, I don't know what you mean by would you like an example? I guess you could do that, right? I'm not really sure with what yeah, you could post an image link. I wouldn't be able to check it now because I'm just doing all this drawing and stuff, but I will check it. Is this your work, or is this something that you're posting? That's an example. So what you guys are seeing here is just another example of ways you can construct this profile feature, because sometimes it's a little bit challenging, right? Because you're like, well, how do I know how far the lips should be, you know, or how far the bottom lip should be, or how far the upper lip should be in this view? And that could really make or break the drawing. You know, you could, if you draw things all on the same line, basically, like let's say, you know, you're drawing this is like the face in profile. You know, if everything is on the same line, it just looks broken. It doesn't look correct. It looks kind of flat in a sense. So I'm going to try to see if I could sketch this out and see show you guys what I mean. So as you could see, like I'm drawing this line right here, and all the features are pretty much touching this straight line. The nose is touching that line, the lips are touching that line, the top and bottom lip are touching, the chin is touching that line. And it just doesn't look correct. It's a common mistake that happens when people are starting to draw. You know, but again, this is something that you can notice. I'm going to try to give it more features. Yeah, the more you draw faces, the more you will recognize like the direction of certain features. So from here, I got the line from the nose following all the way down to where the chin is. Flo 5 said, not mine. The artist is Cognitu Hazar. Really talented person. So yeah, so all these lines right here are just guidelines. They're guidelines to help you see, you know, what the general angle of certain face features are, like the same way as you see over here, you know, and as I mentioned here as well, this is the common mistake that people make when they're drawing the face in profile, is they have all the features touching that straight line going down, whereas in this example, that guideline is at an angle to help you guys construct the face in a way that is more closer to reality. You know, most people's faces do have that different contour lines and different angles. You'll hardly find people where the features are all touching this like guideline that's straight down. Most of the time, you're gonna see, like even in these examples here, that there's curvature to it, right? Like You got like from the forehead all the way to the nose, and then from the nose curving inwards towards the chin, same as it is here. And in these examples, they're slightly exaggerated. But you could see that, for instance, maybe the nose and the chin could follow that same guide, this curvature here, but the parts of the mouth aren't touching that guideline. They're indented more. So there's always some variation there. Flo Fios asks, yeah, so like don't be afraid to maybe over exaggerate some features. No, you're not being, that's exactly it. Don't be afraid to do it. But I think it's also really important to practice from real life drawing as well. So you could get a better understanding of the of the human structure. Like this is an example of like your standard face, I want to say, or pick one for yourself. Like, pick an image of a person, let's say frontal view, and study that, pick that and try to draw it exactly as it is. That ability for you to be able to draw the face as you see it is going to transition into your imaginary work. You'll remember certain lines and certain features. You'll be like, oh, I really like how this came out on the face, and I remember how the curvature on the lip was like this, and since it's pretty close to reality, borrowing it into your imaginary work only enhances your drawing. It doesn't take away from it. It doesn't make it worse. So yeah, just practice that, play around with it. You could exaggerate certain features. The most important thing is that you're learning all these different parts of drawing. You don't want to get caught up in just drawing one type of face or one type of feature over and over and over again. It's kind of like a roadblock. You're not pushing yourself past what you're comfortable with. You're not pushing yourself to excel. You're just kind of repeating the same thing over. It's like learning one word and just knowing that one word, as opposed to reading many different sentences and books and expanding your vocabulary. It's in that same line. You want to expand your vocabulary. You want to get to know more words the same way as you want to improve your line work, make it much better, and add to your creativity and your drawing. There's a difference why when you look at, let's say, a kid drawing where it's like really simple shapes and the fingers are kind of like popsicle sticks, and then when you would, for example, look at some of your favorite artists or your artists that you're interested in your fields, and what that difference is that their line variation is a lot more advanced. There's more character to their lines, and that's what drawing from real life brings to your imagination. So like things like this, you might not want to draw hyper realistic ears, but by practicing and trying to capture all this detail, by practicing shading, you're improving the flexibility of your hand to be able to draw many different type of lines, improving your speed, that sort of thing. So there's multiple benefits to drawing from real life. And even like, artists who are doing, let's say, Rick and Morty, they also practice a lot of stuff from real life as well for that very same reason. If they sit down and they want to create something, like let's say they want to create a creature, they sat and drew like a beetle, and then they sat and drew a horse, and then they sat and drew like a hippopotamus, and then certain features from all those creatures they can remember and be like, oh yeah, I drew this and this will look cool, and they could combine those features to create something strange and weird. So there's lots to take away from real life drawing. I want to say, even, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the game StarCraft, but even that game just combines all these different elements. Like if you were to think of, let's say, the alien race, right? The one that's the Zerg are basically a combination of insects and human features, so they're just like combining both like organisms and certain things that you would see and insects and what they're like. So they would just combine like slugs and roaches and have those images morph into each other, kind of blend into each other. So even though they look so radical or weird, if you took the time, you would see that it's just borrowing different elements from things that exist in nature. So those are the many benefits, I want to say, of drawing from real life. But continuing on with profile photos. This is an example of like if you're drawing more of a youthful face. And it's just kind of giving you an idea of what those features start looking like. So even in this example, even in an example of like a younger face, like this is a baby face, I want to say, or like a really young kid, the same idea applies here. You got to observe to see the distance between the nostril and the eye. Notice that gap is still relatively short. It's not an extremely long distance between the two objects or between the two features, face features. So just to highlight again how important that detail is and how prevalent it is in almost all drawings. You guys saw me doing that example in like older faces as well. So I just wanted to highlight that principle doesn't change in a younger face either. That distance between the eye and the nostril, this gap right here. I don't know if you guys could see it. Just kind of look at the screen. Yeah, so, that distance right there doesn't change. It's still relatively short. But yeah, that was a good question coming from Flofios, in terms of like not being afraid to exaggerate certain features. And really that's what your sketchbook is there for, is for you to be able to just experiment and not be afraid to do whatever, that's its purpose. It's space for you to just do whatever it is that you like, express your lines, express your ideas and how you feel at the moment. It's all there. It's all for that. It's not a place for you to like perfect anything, and you're not going to be giving it away for anybody to like judge and stuff. It's just there for you to just, if you one day decide to exaggerate certain features on a face, why not? Try it out. you know. I think just having a good combination of both, you know, working from your imagination, playing around with things. You know, if you one day just feel like saying, fuck it all, like me, just like do whatever and doodle anything and everything, like go for it. That's exactly one of the best things about sketchbooks. It's an open world for whatever, as long as you're drawing. But yeah, just having a mix of, you know, practicing your anatomy, practicing proportions, drawing from real life, drawing from imagination, that all really determines how quickly you're going to get better, you know. And as I mentioned, just drawing the same thing over and over and over again, you might get better at it, you know, you might improve its lines, but you're stagnating your visual library, you know, you're stagnating, taking things to the next level, kind of. So it's good to break that habit and challenge yourself with something new, you know, challenge yourself in drawing something that's different. Just the same way as, you know, when you're reading a book, right? If you read the same book over and over and over again, you're going to get faster at reading it because you'll know all the words in there. But you're not learning new content. You're not learning new words. You're not learning new sentence structures. So you're kind of stagnating your vocabulary. You're stagnating your ability to read new words, and a lot of other stuff. So it's the same kind of, it's the same learning experience with drawing. So this line right here, once again, it's a diagonal line connecting the upper lip to the bottom lip to the chin at an angle, if you notice that, right? It's not, the nose isn't touching it, but notice how those parts touch each other, like the upper part, the bottom part, and the chin touch this diagonal line, not a straight line. You know, it's not going straight down and then all those features are jotting out trying to touch that straight line. It's at an angle. So that's an important one. And that varies, but I think grasping that things usually do end up being at an angle is already an improvement. But as I mentioned, study all different type of faces. You know, if you come across a photograph of a person in profile, or when you're, you know, observing people out in the open, you know, and you see them in profile, pay attention and see like how many of them actually, like, try to imagine that line that connects these features going from the tip of the nose, and see if you could ever find somebody who has a line going straight down and having all those features connect to that line. So the nose would touch, the upper and bottom lip would touch, and the chin would touch this straight line going down. I would say it's very unlikely. That's just, and I want to show you guys this example here, and that's just because of the curvature to the head. You know, just because there is, whoops, I have to bring it down a bit. There is, all these features are set on a rounded face. It's going to protrude out. So even in this case, the chin might be touching the same line, as you could see here. The nose and the chin touch, but the lip and the upper and the bottom lip are not. As you see in the other feature, let's see, where's that page? No, I guess it's here. So yeah, as you see it the same way as it is here, you know, you got like the nose and the chin touching. And it's still at an angle. Notice that it's not a perfectly straight line, right? Like if I was to do a straight line going down, they still wouldn't be touching that. It's at an angle that they start to do that. But yeah, just because all these features are set on a rounded face, it's always going to be at a curve. things are always going to be curving. It's never going to be that all these features like the forehead, the nose, and the chin are all going to meet on this straight line. And if I was to press this down, right, if I was to really press it in, maybe that would be the case, but that would already turn the face, make the face look warped. And even in this example, there's still slight flatness to it. You know, I have to do more work to really bring out these features more. Woo. Well, that was a fun one. Thanks for FlowFios for joining in, asking excellent questions. I'll check that out. I'll check that link out. But for now, I have to end the stream here and get ready for the next stream, where I will be doing the special intro. I'm pretty excited about it. I think you guys will enjoy it as well. So make sure you stick around. If you guys enjoy this content, remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe it'll help grow the stream, reach a wider audience, and of course will be greatly appreciated. So see you guys in 5 minutes.